Hi, Paul from Paul's Passing Thoughts. We're going to be taking a look at a video here. Kevin DeYoung and John Piper on the pursuit of holiness. In this particular part of it, they are discussing assurance. The whole video, I think, is about 24 minutes long and is a tortured attempt to clarify their progressive justification gospel. Just, very confusing and contradictory. There is one point in the video that is clear, though, and that is Kevin DeYoung ascribing to John Calvin's get out of election free card. All right, and what is that? Well, we'll take a look at that in a minute. Let's see what Kevin DeYoung has to say first, and then I will comment.
And I would just add the piece that assurance has to be a community project. I mean, because some people hear this, and I know because I have dear brothers and sisters that I love, and they're just like that. They read Edwards or the Puritans, and they get depressed. I mean, the soul searching, they do that naturally. So you have to tell people, don't look for evidence from Tuesday to Wednesday. Don't look at it from a week. You got to look over, how did you do, the last year? And not, do you feel holy? Because, everyone always says, and it's true, the closer you get to God, the farther away you see that you really are. So the holiest saint is going to be more aware of his sin than the most immature new believer is. So you're going to have that experience. So you need to look not just where you are, but your trajectory. And you need to look not just over days, but years. And then you need to look not just yourself, but others who, and that's, hopefully if there's a functioning elder board, one of the things the elders do, whatever they can bind and they can loose. And you say there are 10 godly men here who have authority from Christ, and they deem that I'm a member of his body.
Okay. So that's an interesting statement from Kevin DeYoung. And what is he talking about? Well, he is talking about John Calvin's power of the keys, okay, in which Reformed elders have the power to bind and loose on earth. And they've been, in essence, given the authority to forgive sins on earth. And one thing that I do need to back up and mention a little bit also, even though Kevin DeYoung contradicts himself in the video many times and makes statements that are of the synergistic sanctification variety, what he tries to do is work both sides of the fence, okay, which is a total contradiction. Here, there's no contradiction. It's authentic, Calvinism, old Calvinism and new Calvinism. This whole idea that if the elders proclaim you saved, you're saved. And, ultimately, your assurance can be found in this. Now, this is, but anyway, what I want to do is back up a little bit. You remember his comment saying the closer that we get to God, the more we're kind of undone and we see our sin. Just let me point out real quick that the Bible says the exact opposite of that. The Bible says the closer that we get to God, the more peace that we have. Draw near to God and he will draw near to you. So basically, look, in my book, it's not about election. that can be found on Amazon, I go into all of these issues. Now, what is this power of the keys stuff that he was just talking about in the binding? Whatever elders bind on earth will be bound in heaven, and whatever they loose on earth will be loosed in heaven. He spoke of hopefully the 10 elders who say, hey, look, we consider you a member in good standing here. Well, this is this whole thing that of the bad news and good news of assurance, and the Calvin construct of assurance in their gospel. And I discuss this in this article here, Calvinism's get out of election free card. All right, you can look up that article on Paul's Passing Thoughts. At any rate, so here's what we have. We have this election construct that I document in It's Not About Election, where Calvin taught that there was, and New Calvinists hold to this also, there's 3 classes of elected peoples, okay? The non-elect, they just have no prayer of salvation, period. Then there's those that are actually temporarily elected, or what Calvin taught was the called, okay? The called, all right? And Calvin actually taught that this second class of elected people are only temporarily illumined, okay? And that their election is then vacated, and they are, appointed to a damnation that is worse than the non-elect, okay? And then there is the third class is those who persevere, So in the church, who have been given the gift of perseverance, okay? So in the church, you have 2 classes of people. The called, okay? Those who are temporarily illumined, and then God, takes away their election, and then those who have the gift of perseverance. Very, very scary, okay? Very, very scary. But here, what DeYoung is playing is the authentic John Calvin get out of election free card. And basically it boils down to this. If the elders like you, you're in. Okay? If you're a member of Kevin DeYoung's church and he likes you and the elders like you butter their bread, you don't cause them any problems, you don't ask questions, you're in. Okay? So where does DeYoung get this? He gets this from the Calvin Institutes, the 4th book and the 1st chapter. Okay? Let me see here. I can read. Let's read from the Calvin Institute's Book 4, Chapter 1, Section 22. Calvin says, to impart this blessing to us, that is justification he's talking about, the keys have been given to the church, for when Christ gave the command to the apostles and conferred the power of forgiving sins, he not merely intended that they should loose the sins of those who should be converted from impiety to the faith of Christ, but moreover that they should perpetually perform this office amongst believers. Yes, Calvin did say that. All right. He goes on, secondly, this benefit is so peculiar to the church that we cannot enjoy it unless we continue in the communion of the church. Thirdly, it is dispensed to us by the ministers and pastors of the church, either in preaching of the gospel or the administration of the sacraments, and herein is especially manifested the power of the keys, which the Lord has bestowed on the company of the faithful. Accordingly, let each of us consider it to be his duty to seek forgiveness of sins only where the Lord has placed it. Of the public reconciliation which relates to discipline, we shall speak at a proper place. Okay, and then to add the icing on all this cake, Calvin also said, by new sins we continually separate ourselves as far as we can from the grace of God. Thus it is that all the saints have need of the daily forgiveness of sins, for this alone keeps us in the family of God. And that's from John Calvin's commentary on the Catholic Epistles, editor John Owen, the Calvin Translation Society, 1855. Okay, so basically you say that's an awful lot like Catholicism. Well, sure it is. There's no difference. So this is a short video on Kevin DeYoung's Get Out of Election Free card. Though Kevin DeYoung talks out of both sides of his mouth concerning John Calvin's progressive justification and biblical synergistic sanctification, he's doing just that. He's talking out of both sides of his mouth. I hope this video is helpful to you. Have a wonderful, God-honoring day.